See those?
Have they been installed?
They are installed, yep. So those are actual pictures from our student services area.
They're permanent.
They are permanent, yes, ma'am. So they have I believe it was a 15-year warranty on the actual fabric. And so we expect to have them for a very long time. And then lastly, we're retrofitting some old fluorescent light fixtures and cable halls restrooms. So we're doing some maintenance in that while we've got a little bit of time in the summer. And Mr. Knowles, that is the facilities and construction report.
Could you move on to the forestry road repairs, please?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, looking at item 3.3, the forestry road repairs, we're getting some erosion and just normal wear and tear on some of our roads going through our forestry properties, and we need to prepare to repair some of that. So what we need to do is we need to put in some drainage around, as you see it drawn out, some drainage around our property, especially around where the new shed is, so that the property will drain as it should. We also need to put in some gravel, replace a few pipes for water to run through. Essentially, this is an environmental repair. We're getting some silt washing into our little stream back there. We need to repair that particular area. So as you see, Lemon's Backhoe was the low bidder on that one at $23,870, and we are requesting approval for that funding to make those repairs on the backside of campus. So I'll ask if there are any questions.
One note is that this is really not costing the school anything because the money that is being spent to do this is coming out of the sale of our timber.
Yes.
But with that being said, do I hear a motion to approve the forestry road repairs?
So moved.
Move, do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Like signs, opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay. Dr. Bledsoe, if you would do one other thing, the campus-wide security upgrade.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is item 3.4. It's our 3-1 for some campus-wide security upgrades. This is a project we've been talking about for some time, and we're excited to be able to use some of our state allotted funds to be able to pursue it. We are wanting to add access controls for keyless entry to a number of our exterior doors, and under section 2 of the description of the project, you'll see that. So building 100, building 300, building 600, 700, I think that caught what we're looking to. So 18 exterior doors, 12 interior doors for this project. Couple of benefits to it. So it would allow us to either use a phone app or a key fob or a card to enter the buildings. And 2 or 3 things. First of all, that's convenient whenever we're coming on campus when things are closed, but it also will give us an opportunity to lock down those doors. So if we ever had to call a lockdown, we just hit a key on the computer and every one of those doors closes and locks.
And at that point, there's no entry whatsoever without any device can open it.
No, you still could use a key to open them. At least that's my understanding. So, and this would not cover every door on campus. So there's some that would remain locked for our primary doors. If you're looking at the price that we're putting out for this project, $199,500, just under $200,000. That's not doing everything on campus. This is a very expensive project, and that's why most schools haven't done it yet. But it's a lot more cost effective than it was 10 years ago, and it's something we definitely need. More than anything, it will also allow us to track when people come in on say, for example, the weekends. We would know who's scanning in, who's coming in, what they're doing. So,
Will somebody get locked in?
no, they would not be able to be locked in. All the emergency exits will still work. This just, it kind of overrides the key that you're talking about, so we'd still be able to use the other methods.
What budget is that? Maybe you said and I wasn't listening. What budget is that coming from?
Sure, we're using this out of R&R and SCIF funds. State, give me the acronym for that one, Jen. Investment funds. So this is money that has been allotted to the college from the General Assembly.
Okay,
So,
great. So again, it's not coming out of our pocket.
Yeah, not coming out of county funds at all on this one. So we thought it was a good use of that money.
So you haven't decided what the access will be, whether it will be a swipe or
So I think that there are multiple ones. We're still waiting for what the vendor finally gives us. But Jeanette, I know cell phone app was one of them, and I cannot remember what it was, key card or key fob. But you either hold your ID up to it or you'd hold a key fob up to it. And then most
So
of
it's
us,
not a keypad,
no, not keypads on any of these.
but not a numerical keypad.
Can't remember.
I'm not aware of it. I mean, I'm sure that's an option, but we're not. We're
I
more
just
interested-
wondered.
Yeah,
Just-
these days, we're far more interested in the app.
And then who would have access? The people who have keys now would have access.
So yeah, people who have keys now would have access. The nice thing about it, though, is that we would really tailor that access.
Mhm.
So for example, members of the cabinet in here would have almost unlimited access to it.
Yes.
But let's say, for example, it's a forestry instructor. We would be able to restrict it to the forestry building if we wanted to. Now, we don't necessarily have to do that, but it gives us that level of control.
Mhm.
And what is very nice, it may eventually, I don't know about initially, but eventually allow us to reduce some of the keys we hand out. Because that's always a problem, getting the keys back, and, eventually keys end up everywhere. So with this, when somebody left, we would just turn off their access.
With that being said about the keys being everywhere,
Mhm.
would not a code from an app also be able to be shared?
So that's why the app would be, you would install it on your phone and your username and password. So I guess technically that would be able to share it. Now, obviously,
Almost here, I
Yeah.
can give you my card, you know.
although I would say that if somebody's name was used to access the building and the camera going in the building didn't show that, we would have a discussion about
Right,
what they call it.
right.
Because just like giving out your email password, that would be a violation.
Will it record data on who is coming in and out? It will record that data. Okay, wonderful.
And we can time it so that if we, say, for example, Saturdays, we wanted to open the building from 8 to 4, just have it automatically unlock, it would automatically unlock.
Mhm.
And much to Marcus's benefit, thinking back there, if somebody's locked out, he can remotely access that, or those of us who would have the ability to, administrative privileges, remotely access it.
It also provides 6 manual push buttons, one in each building that we would put in an inconspicuous place to lock down.
For a lockdown button. So for example, if one was up at Lauren's desk and somebody said there's a lockdown, Lauren would just push a button and it would lock down every building. It's a nice setup.
I see the cost is coming from state funds, but there's got to be some type of a annual maintenance fee to maintain this.
There's a software annual maintenance fee. I'm thinking around what, $5,000 to $10,000 on that, Jeanette? I haven't heard of. Well, I guess we got to get a final vendor on it, but most
I'm
things.
looking for the-
Thank you.
Is that again covered by the state or is that on us?
That would not be. That would be coming out of our general allotment state funds. Now we can use state funds for it, but it would come out of what we are allotted every year.
Any further questions? Do I hear a motion to approve the campus-wide security upgrades?
Moved.
So moved. Do I hear a second? I don't think you can second it. I'm sorry. Robert can. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Any new business? Hearing none, we adjourn.
Director, Personnel Committee.
I'd like to bring the Personnel Committee meeting to order. We have present Mr. Harris, Mrs. Hensley, Mrs. Capel, Mrs. Voltice, myself. Absent is Mrs. Eggleston and Dr. Bennett. We have employee appointments and separations, and Dr. Bledsoe, if you will lead us through that.
Thank you, Mr. Absher. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, looking at item 4.2, your appointments and separations for May. We have two appointments. One is an internal promotion. So Alex Williams has been promoted to the position of gunsmithing instructor. Most of you have known Alex over the years. He's been our program facilitator for short-term gunsmithing classes, but he's now coming on as a so we're very excited for him. And to replace Alex as that facilitator of short-term gunsmithing, we have Michael Gardner. He's been hired in that position. He has a bachelor's in religious education, a minor in pastoral studies. Of course, has an associate degree from this college in gunsmithing and an associate degree in humanities and social sciences. So he comes with a very varied background. He's been working in the industry for the last couple of years, and we're very excited to have him on board. He's bringing a lot of new thoughts and exciting ideas. So those are our two additions during the month of May. We did have one separation, of course, the position that Alex filled. Matthew Mutarelli, many of you knew him as our gunsmithing instructor. He also was the gentleman who liked the muskets and liked to do the axe making. So fine gentleman. I enjoyed having him here for a little over 8 years, and I'm going to miss him, but wish him the best. This was his second career, so we wish him the best in his retirement.
We have blanket travel authorization. Dr. Bledsoe, if you would.
Thank you, sir.
introduce that.
Ladies and gentlemen, item 4.3 is the blanket travel authorization for the upcoming fiscal year for the president. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, the blanket travel authorization for upcoming fiscal year. I may be reading off the wrong number. It's showing up online as 4.2, but it's also on a printed copy. It might be 5.4. That's the one with the minutes in it. That's why it's showing up like that. So my apologies.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Online it's 4.3. So I'm distinguishing between the two. Do you need something else?
No, I'm muddling along.
Okay, all right.
All right. The blanket travel authorization is something that is authorized for me for each fiscal year, and it gives me authorization to travel to local and regional events. So essentially, it allows me to travel to all counties in North Carolina, plus a number of events that we know that I attend each year that are outside of North Carolina. That would be the SAC COC Annual Convention, the SHOT Show, any president's conferences that may occur, and the NRA convention. And so that has to be voted on by the trustees annually. And Mr. Hatcher, that one does require action.
Any questions before we vote? Do I hear a motion to approve the blanket travel authorization?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Also look at new facility positions. Dr. Bledsoe.
Thank you, Mr. Hatcher. Online, it's item number 4.4. The addition of 3 new faculty positions at the college. So what you're seeing in the attachments is the organizational chart showing who they would report to, and then the job descriptions for each of those faculty positions. All 3 are 9-month faculty. The first one is a position in early childhood education. The second one is a humanities instructor, and the third is a psychology instructor. And these are positions that we think that we would need over the course of the next year that we would like to be able to fill as necessary. We anticipate filling the psychology position immediately. We are going to wait probably to the end of the calendar year for the humanities position, and the early childhood position we're discussing, but we likely will fill it in August, although we're still trying to monitor that as well. But we see an opportunity, given that we've got the additional rollover funds from the stabilization from the state during COVID, to add some new positions and add additional classes and grow some enrollment. And so these are the places that we think we can do that.
So the intention is to grow the enrollment to pay for these after the money runs out.
After the money runs out, yeah, because of course we're funded a year in arrears, so this gives us an opportunity to grow the enrollment now. And there are classes already for all of these positions. So
You learned that from Jeanette today.
No, it just, I've just always been warned about starting new stuff on money that's not recurring.
That's basically how this always works, isn't it?
Great
Yeah.
question.
We funded after the fact.
He's funded after the fact on these. And each of these positions, it is important to note, you know, we do already have classes that are being taught by adjuncts for all of these positions. So, you know, the first thing we'll do is lower some of our adjunct teaching rates.
Does adjunct translate into contract?
It's contract, part-time, it's also
Okay,
another term that we
okay,
use for it. Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the positions we're requesting for fall. Are there questions about any of them or any of them individually? And Mr. Absher, that one also will require.
Large action. And I do, for the record, we are discussing faculty positions.
That is correct. Yes, sir. These are all faculty positions.
Do I hear a motion to approve the new faculty positions?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to policy 3.2.5, annual leave revision. First reading.
Thank you, Mr. Absher. Yes, online, that's item 4.5. Excuse me. This is our policy on annual leave. If you look toward the bottom of the page in red, you will see item C talks about transfer of annual leave for new employees. Historically, we have not accepted a transfer of annual leave from other state employees. And that can be problematic because if, say, someone comes in with 240 hours of annual leave and then they resign from the college, we're responsible for paying out that annual leave if they leave the system. So we have generally been hesitant to do that. However, given changes in hiring and who we're attracting at the college, we're seeing more state employees coming looking for positions. This is an opportunity to allow up to 2 weeks. I would not want to go more than 2 weeks of annual leave to be transferred to us. That would allow people who are coming on board to take vacations they may have planned for, would allow them not to immediately zero out their annual leave. And it's just another recruitment tool we have at our disposal. So we think that we could manage 2 weeks. That wouldn't be so bad. But it's, you know, not as bad as somebody who, say me or Lee, who have 240 hours sitting, you know, in some of our stuff. I think Jeanette's probably pretty close to that as well. So, you know, it doesn't put a big financial burden on it. So that is the first reading. I certainly will answer any questions if anyone has any about that one.
It's fairly standard amount.
So it varies a lot. For those that accept leave, it's pretty standard. But we run the gamut. A number of colleges don't take any leave. Some will take all. It's really all over the place as to what people take.
But it needs to be consistent.
It needs to be consistent for us.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. I mean,
Yeah.
the professor versus the clerical.
Yeah,
Oh,
everybody takes the same, yeah,
Right.
gets the same leave. And of course, this is among any state agency. So if somebody say transfer to the DMV, you know, they may take all of your leave, but you may transfer to Stanley and they take none. And so we were always very conservative in the fact that we did not want to be financially responsible for a lot of leave. Now, sick leave does transfer to anybody, but there's no payout for the sick leave. So that doesn't bother us to take all the sick leave. And that was my last item, Mr. Absher.
All right. Any new business that needs to come before the committee?
Curriculum and student services.
Curriculum Student Service Committee was on the order. Present from myself, Dr. Katie Dunlap, Phil Jones, Tony Bullseye, absent is Tawanda Bennett, and Tim McCall.
Our first of our ADN students have begun taking the NCLEX for this year. We had one guinea pig who went first and early and she passed, so the others began to follow. So currently about 8 have already finished and we're at 100% passing rate at this point. Which is we're all a little fearful about this NCLEX has changed and not NCLEX is the nursing board, board of nursing exam. And this year is a different exam.
Is this LPN or RN?
This is both.
Both.
Yes.
Okay.
And so all of the ADNs have already passed, and then several of the LPNs have already taken the exam. You also see a picture of our storage building that we built for Habitat. They supplied the materials, and we constructed it with our carpentry students, and then they moved it to site. So it allowed us to be involved in the project and not have to worry about transportation and getting people back and forth. I don't know that I forgot to walk over there today to look to be. So.
Shouldn't it have a half moon on the door?
It is kind of look more like an outhouse than it does it's a small storage building, very small. For arts and sciences, we've been talking about this spring, the number of institutions that our students are transferring to, and there's a list that they provided of as far as they know of where our students went this year, who transferred. Again, for the third year, I believe, is the Department of Energy has selected 2 of our students to do an internship in Fort Smith, Arkansas. So they will be finishing up at the end of this month, and will be back with us after the 1st of July. And actually, our newest employee in the gunsmithing area is one of our first students to do the Department of Energy internship. We met with Benelli USA Firearms yesterday and today, and they want to do something similar with their factory in Maryland. And so they're looking at a September date. And what we'll probably start with is graduates who just finished up the program and do an internship with them for a month. And what they're hoping to do is the same as Department of Energy, is kind of a tryout of a new employee.
Pay all their expenses, like.
Yes, they provide housing for them.
Transportation.
Yes, I believe the transportation as well. And one of the reasons that Benelli wants to do in September is because they're on the eastern shore of Maryland and they can't find any place to put them during the summer. So they want to do it in the fall. We have continued to do area high schools and community events. You will see us as the summer goes along with recruiting and admissions. And in addition, we served over 385 students in either online tutoring, face-to-face, or open study hall this year. So it's been a good year. We have 49 additional students who will complete their requirements at the end of summer for 60 additional degrees, diplomas, and certificates. The other thing I'm excited about is that our FTE numbers are in for the spring. We're showing about a 15% growth for the spring, which will bring us to a 10.7% for the year. So we are now within about 2.5% of where we were in 1920, which is yes, that's where our faculty load and such are based on, our payroll is based on that. And so we're getting closer and closer to it. So it's been a very good year. Thankful to the faculty, staff, all those who are involved in recruiting and retaining our students. In continuing education, we had the 27th class of the Leadership Montgomery graduate in May. Of our folks were part of that program. John has 54 students enrolled in pottery for the summer. They seem to be busting at the seams over there. And we will be in a transition starting now, correct, as we transition workboard center from the work center will be transitioning workboard. And so we will be under a new board after the first of the budget year. Any questions?
That means.
So the WIOA program that we we administer for Montgomery County. We are the provider. It reports to regional work boards. And we were in a region that included Alamance, Orange, Randolph, several other counties. The decision of the state was to dissolve that board and to combine or to absorb them in some of the existing boards. So we're actually moving towards the Sand Hills area, and we'll be in that work board. It decides the funding for the WEO program, and who will be the contractor for the county. We've been we consider ourselves very successful in what we've been able to do in the last 6 years that we've had.
Are we the
WEO program.
contractor for Montgomery County?
We are.
Okay.
Yes. They could, or they could decide to do some consolidations. We really don't know. We're waiting to hear what their proposed plan is. They have not shared that with us yet. Well, that would be my argument, but and I agree with you, is that we have done. If you look at what we inherited 6 years ago, and where we've taken that board, it's phenomenal. And in serving, because we care about what happens in Montgomery County. The others were always an outside agency providing services.
Question? So you're there, tell us about the new student fees.
But
Fee chart.
yes, you'll see in your packet, there's some changes to the fee chart. And most of those are small increases. Truck driving is increased to cover the additional cost of fuel as it changed. The graduation fee, we have been at $40 for quite a while. The problem is that now with the cost of robes, certificates, and everything else, is we're losing a little money, so we wanted to bump it up just a little so that we break even there, and keeping that fee consistent for continuing education and for curriculum. The gunsmithing GSM 111 is again cost of metal for the barrels that they're doing in that one. And then the pottery lab fee, again, the cost of what we're spending for supplies and the growth. And so we are projecting that proposing that go to $15. And then the below are for participation in expos and the gas burn. Again, is the cost of what it costs to do those programs. Their agencies will probably cover those costs.
I'm going to talk about truck driver articulation. Is this fee going to move once we get into that articulation agreement?
Actually, they affect two separate programs. So this is the one we're doing through for trucking.
That's why I'm asking. Is that fee going to be the same with Rick?
It will not be the same.
That's good.
I think that requires action.
Yes. Any other questions? Do I hear a motion to approve the chart update, fee chart update? People are going to sleep.
So moved.
Second?
Second, yeah.
Definitely second.
Tom, then we repeat line, say something.
Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we'll talk about, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Curriculum program termination.
Yes, sir. The Development and Disabilities Concentration as part of Human Services Technology has not had any enrollment in it in a number of years. One of the things when we added the social services concentration to Human Services Technology was really to replace that program because it met more of the needs of our professionals in the area and the agencies that we serve. So this is just the formal, we have mothballed this program already. It is time now to notify the state that we are discontinuing the program. So that is what this form is for.
Any questions? I hear a motion for the curriculum termination. You're right. There a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Like sign. Motion carried. And now, let's see, Dr. Bledsoe, we'll talk about the truck driving
Be happy to.
articulation.
So online, that one is item 5.5, the truck driving agreement with Richmond Community College. So Richmond, one of our sister institutions, has a fairly large truck driver program. They've also gained access to some funding through the state to expand that, and have asked if we would be willing to partner with them to offer truck driving training through Richmond Community College and partners with us. So they would come into our county, offer the training, possibly use some of our facilities. We would co-brand together. And then they would, of course, running the program, they would take 75% of the FTE, we would take 25% of the FTE on that particular program.
They furnish the instructor and so and equipment.
They will have all the equipment and the instructor. We will pay part of the expenses to go along with those.
We
But
have to for the
yeah,
25%.
but no, we won't have to buy trucks or anything like that for this. Classroom space is what they would need from us if they, and I'm not sure they would need that, but.
Right.
not for that.
Any questions?
I have a question. It says that we would provide a site recommended and secured by Montgomery Community College. What kind of site? I mean, do we have to do truck driving site?
So if they needed a pad to drive around on, they really have a nice center. It's a little far away from us. Find a location to drive and turn around and things of that nature if they needed it. Yes. We won't have to, I mean, we wouldn't have to create a site or anything like that.
No.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve? Dr.
Okay.
Robbins? Do I hear a second?
Okay.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay. We have any new business? Hearing none, and committee is adjourned.
Dr. Dunlap, the Legislative and Public Relations Committee.
I will call to order the Legislative and Public Relations Committee. Of our 5 members, I am present. Ms. Boltice is present. Mr. Price is present. Absent are Dr. Bennett and Mr. McCauley. With 3 out of 5 present, we do have a quorum. You have before you the Public Relations and Marketing Report from Kelly Morgan. Quite exciting. Dr. Bledsoe, does anybody have any comments they want to make on this? I don't see Kelly present.
Yes, Kelly's had to step away. I will simply just note that Kelly continues to do a nice job of promoting the institution. As you see there, we've received a number of press pickups, not the least of which is our new Dean of Continuing Education, our Heritage Crafts programs, and Amy Fryery completing, Amy and Jessica completing the leadership program at the state level. So really good press pickups this time. We're going to get our new campaign underway, trying to refresh what we're doing. She's got some new billboards coming up, so we're pushing hard for fall, trying to get students in here.
And I'd also point out the social media statistics for May. The reactions were 3,275, whereas the largest number for the previous month was 960. So we are doing quite well in social media, which is such an important tool at this point.
Yes. Kelly had predicted that. I think she said that during the May meeting. She was expecting to see some real excitement.
Okay, any questions about our public relations and marketing report? Commendations to Kelly. Dr. Bledsoe, will you give us a legislative update?
Be happy to do that. Legislative update, of course, there's a lot of behind the scenes work going on in the legislature right now, not a lot of communication with us. There is talk, and I hope that this will occur, that we may have a budget by the end of June. Yes, we don't often get that, but we're excited. We're eagerly awaiting that. I think I mentioned during the May meeting, but I'm thrilled it continues to be in there. There is a special allotment funding for MCC to start a dental hygiene program. So if that is still floating around, we're waiting for the conference budget, but it's there today, so that's a good day. Probably two of the bigger bills that the trustees have asked about in the past, just to where they stand. Senate Bill 680, that is higher education accreditation. That's the one that would affect our accrediting body. That one is sitting in the Rules Committee, and the refer to the rules and the calendar and the operations committee in the House. So no movement at the moment, but that likely would happen toward the end of the month very fast. So lots of discussion on that. If you recall some previous times I've mentioned it, that would, well, it would mandate that we change accrediting agencies from time to time. The shift seems to be to allowing us the option. So we're hoping that shifts to allowing an option as opposed to mandating that we change accrediting agencies. But we're watching that one very closely. And then Senate Bill 692 refers to community college governance. That's about who makes appointments to the state board, to the local boards of community colleges, and it is sitting in rules and operations in the Senate at the moment. So still nothing happening on that. Again, I will probably be sending you emails on those because if they do move, they will move quickly.
I did get called from the governor's office asking me if I would agree to serve
Very nice.
if invited. They made it clear that the rule might change and they wouldn't have the opportunity for reappointment.
And we are seeing a lot of discussion. Well, and to that end, in the president's meeting today, there was discussion on a lot of boards are, the school board, the commissioners, the governor's office are appointing this time of year. And the honest answer is no one knows. So if this goes into law, they will have to decide once it goes into law whether to honor the ones that have been previously voted on. So we're proceeding as normal, just as if people are being appointed. And
Refresh my memory on, that was so many appointed by the legislature and so many by the commissioners
so, of course,
and nobody else appointed.
the commissioners would remain the same. The school board and the governor's appointees would be split between the House and the Senate.
Right, so there would be no more local schools.
No more local school board appointees, no more gubernatorial
That
appointees.
is so moronic. I can't even believe it's considered. It's just,
I do have to say that I saw a letter that the board had written to and sent to every legislator regarding this and how, disappointed they were.
write a letter, I'll sign it.
Okay.
I think we all will.
Mhm.
So what they,
Are there any further questions for Mr. Bledsoe? Is there any new business to come before the committee? If there's no new business, this committee is adjourned.
Mr. Harris, Institutional Status Committee.
I call the Institutional Status Committee meeting to order. Committee members present, myself, Ms. Capel, Dr. Jones, and Ms. Fortice. Ms. Eggleston is absent. I will now turn it over to Dr. Bledsoe for the reading of policy 2.1.3, weapons on campus.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take those two policies together, 2.1.3 and 5.3.2, both of which are first readings. This is really just some language cleanup that we realized we needed to do. But 2.1.3 has less, 5.3.2 we rewrote to kind of match the first one. They are policies in different sections of our policy manual that really relate together. The focus of what we're doing here is obviously there are provisions that prevent people from bringing knives, guns, air rifles, things of that nature on campus. However, having a gunsmithing program, a knife making program, and et cetera, we have some different environments that we need to deal with. So really, all of this boils down to we have made the language consistent among these two policies, so they really reflect each other quite well. And we have noted that exceptions may be made if they are necessary as part of instruction. So if you're bringing a rifle on campus because you're being taught how to fix a rifle, that is perfectly fine. If you're bringing a tomahawk on campus because you're building a tomahawk, that is acceptable. It would even go into the ability to allow for a couple of programs that are unusual, say, for example, taxidermy. it is not uncommon that you would need to bring a longer knife instead of a pocket knife. So the key being, it has to relate to instruction. And so, that, again, these are just first readings, but that's what we're designing these to clarify, is that obviously you can't just bring a firearm on campus if you want to, outside of the law. It is part of our classes. I'll ask if there are any initial questions about that.
This, B says individual has a valid concealed handgun. I didn't realize you could even do that on campus.
You can. So, if you have a valid concealed carry, you may have it in your vehicle. So,
You can't carry it.
you can't, unless you're a sworn officer. Now, a sworn officer can carry it,
That's what was confusing
Yeah.
me there.
but
I knew they
no,
could lock it in the car, but.
yeah, you lock it in the car and you're fine. So, and that's all covered under your concealed handgun permit training.
Love it.
Yeah. So,
Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Any questions on that? If not, I'll leave it for Dr. Bledsoe for the SACS. CFC.
Okay, Mr. Harris, we're all still getting accustomed to the tradition on colleges as well, and that's been around for many years, but most of us still refer to it as SACS. So I'm pleased to say that we have sent our document to the off-site committee. They have reviewed it. They have given us feedback on what they would like additional information on. We received that feedback a couple of weeks ago. We had previously scheduled for our SACS VP to come down after we received it and meet with us. So we met with Dr. Patricia Denot last week, and we reviewed all the things that they went over that they wanted us to provide information about. So obviously, I wish they had not wanted us to provide any information about anything, but they did. They had a number of questions that they wanted to ask. What we gathered out of the meeting is that we appear to be doing what we're supposed to be doing. They wanted to see more evidence of what we're doing. So they wanted more examples. So that seemed to be a consistent theme running through there. So what we're doing is we're gathering that evidence right now, putting it back into the report. Just for the sake of making sure we're doing everything exactly correctly, my next step is I'm going to see if I can't hire an off-site reviewer just to check what we've now put in before it goes back to the on-site review committee. And we're going to send all that information back in, we'll resubmit it, and then begin getting prepared for our on-site visit. Areas where we saw a number of questions arise, I mean, there were little things that were very easy to answer. One of them that jumped to my mind is they wanted examples of what using a process to remove a board member. We have never removed a board member, so we simply have to note it.
You want to try?
No, we don't. No, we don't.
No.
So there are little things like that. We just, say, we've never done that. Where we're seeing the most work ahead of us is, as you might expect, is in institutional planning. That seems to be one that pops up on every SACS reaffirmation. So they want to make sure we're closing the loop, and they've asked for more examples of that. So we're working diligently on that one. There were a few questions, I think we'll be able to answer these, but a few questions on student achievement. In student learning outcomes, we were using a few final grades of student learning outcomes, and they wanted other details on it. He does that. They wanted some other details on that. They always hit you on faculty qualifications. We thought that they did a very extensive review of faculty qualifications, particularly in the technical areas. They did not seem to spend a lot of time focusing on industry certifications. So we're going to re-emphasize our industry certifications. And then they talked a little bit about the library, making sure that we had enough resources and enough employees in the library. What they recommended there seems like a fairly simple fix. They want us to compare ourselves to other schools similar size. And I can tell you when we do that, we will be fine. We have as much or more than that. So those are the major themes that came out of it. Of course, there are lots of others that they ask questions about, but that's the general theme. As I said, I would certainly have preferred if they said you're done and move on. But we've got a great team here. We're going to work on them. We're going to get those back in, and we're looking forward to the on-site. Some of us more than others.
Is there a strong focus on diversity?
Not in the offset, not in the reviews we're seeing it now. Now there is a focus on making sure people are treated the same and fairly, but no, there's not really very much DEI language at all.
Will board members be involved and if so, what form?
You would. So as we prepare our on-site document, as we're sending that information off in August, we will begin working with the board to prepare you for that visit. To be honest, and some of you have been through this before, they will really focus on Ms. Voltice. They will ask the board chair a lot of questions, but they have the ability to contact any board member. So we'll do refreshers on our mission and on strategic plan. We'll talk about anything that you may be asked that's coming to our mind. We will, of course, invite board members to come to campus while they're here. We would welcome you to be here. You're great advocates for the institution. But I do think that Ms. Voltice gets the hardest questions of the bunch. Ms. Capel's over there shaking her head. We've been doing work on those. But of course, we're going to be planning a whole event on campus, so we'll be ready for them. I don't think anybody here will have any trouble answering. Ms. Capel shook her head no. So that is my update.
All right. Is there any new business? Hearing none. Hearing no new business, this meeting stands adjourned.
That concludes our committee meetings, and now we will break for dinner, and we will reconvene at 7 o'clock.
Ladies and gentlemen, I was already out there, so please feel free to help yourselves.
Were.
They were.
Cause of what?
I think we'll come back on 7.
Oh, Bill.
Hello, Gordon.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I'm good.
you ever do anything for the road?
That wasn't.
Impressive, but I had read a Girl Scout magazine about a young scout needed money to college.
Yeah, man, I tell you, the article.
Found a special shell at Sanibel. Changed their lives. Maybe I never could pronounce it.
Mustard.
Yeah. That was how I started liking Sanibel, and my family took me down there because all family was down there years, 1,000 years ago, before they had any kind of bridge, before they had the water system that didn't smell like salt. We thoroughly enjoyed it.
This is like a competition. We see, I study it. You'll put on the side of us.
Amazing, isn't it?
So, yeah.
The beach is so different from my North Carolina and South Carolina. Really enjoyed it.
And they used to say it was checked in. I believe it's 4 months, 6 months, 9 months, and a year. Showed how important these dollars to be. 1 year.
It goes down, but it's the beach is a huge amount of work.
3 years. It's really.
Everything. I tell you the other thing. Landscape.
It doesn't hurt.
Insurance.
So up there. She walks you through.
I'd like to call the June meeting of the Montgomery Community College to order. I want to give the biggest welcome of the night to Davy Franklin Kelly, son of Lauren and Nathan Kelly, who was born on May 8th, and they are doing well. Also want to welcome Mark Dye, our Director of Gunsmithing, who will be doing our board presentation tonight. And with him is Michael Gardner, whom you heard about in our personnel. He's our new program facilitator of short-term gunsmithing courses. We welcome you. Would you like to say anything to the folks?
Hello, again, my name is Michael Gardner. I'm a former student here. I graduated in 2021. And again, very pleased to be the new facilitator of short-term gunsmithing courses, long title. But looking forward to seeing some things expand. I think it's been growing in some ways, but we're going to try focusing on marketing next year and see if we can get some new attendance. But thank you so much for having me tonight.
Welcome. Also like to welcome the Sunshine Request. I believe they're still with us online. Yule Kalev, again, our new IE person, and Josh Thaxton, our indispensable IT person. We appreciate you, Josh. I missed anybody? And then I'd like to open with prayer, please. Father, we come with you appreciation for the opportunity to be here. to do the business of Montgomery Community College Board of Trustees. We're grateful for the birth of Franklin Kelly. We ask you to continue to bless Lauren and Nathan as they adjust to life with a newborn. Not always easy, Lord, but a blessing nonetheless. Father, we pray for Tawanda Bennett, who's not with us tonight. She's dealing with an emergency situation, and we pray that that would be resolved in a quick and beneficial manner. We're grateful that we have Dr. Jones and Dr. Dunlap again back with us, and we ask you to continue healing on their behalf. And Father, now we ask that you would bless this meeting as we continue on. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. And now, do I hear a motion to approve the June 14, 2023 board agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or any changes? Hearing none, we're voting on the motion that the June 14, 2023 board agenda be approved. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And now our Board of Ethics reminder. In keeping with MCC Board Policy 1.4, conflict of interest, in Chapter 138A of the North Carolina Board of Ethics. Any conflicts of interest or appearances of conflict with matters coming before the board should be declared. Are there any conflicts of interest to be announced? If so, please state them at this time. Hearing no conflicts, I'll call on Mark Dye for our board presentation on gunsmithing.
Folks, hey, appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I was trying to look back when the last time I had addressed the board and about our gunsmithing program. I think it was in 2020. There might have been a thing or two that have happened since 2020. I'm not sure if, if anything has happened around here for you guys since 2020, but we had a couple things. So anyway, I wanted to give you a quick rundown. At any point, if you have questions, please feel free to stop me. If there's something that I need to expand on or clarify, feel free to jump in. So just the basics, our current enrollment numbers for the summer of 2020, we have 57 full-time students, which is a little lower than what we normally have. We've had a little more attrition than usual. Based on our current numbers for fall, and we've still got a little time, we may pick up an extra student or two. We're looking at about 67 full-time students for fall. Normally, we've been hovering right around 70, so that kind of puts us in about the range of where we have been. We had a few more people than usual that are applying and being accepted, and then for some reason or another not coming into the program. We've been trying to round up a few of those the last couple of weeks. We've had some personnel additions. So Matt Mutarelli, who I'm sure a lot of you guys know and have met, he decided to retire. So he did give us some good notice on that. We were able to replace that position. We've done it all with people pretty much in-house. So Alex Williams was our NRA coordinator for the last 5 years, and we moved him into a teaching role. I've been really impressed with how well he's able to absorb the knowledge he's seen or been able to assimilate all the stuff from the NRA classes, from all the other instructors. He's really been a good asset for us. So we moved him into an instructor role. Joshua Needham, so he's been teaching our weekend classes for the last 4 or 5 years as well, and we moved him into a full-time position. And we also, in the course of that, we freed up me to do a little more of the day-to-day, keeping the trains on schedule. So hopefully that'll give me a little more time to advertise the program and do a few more of the administrative tasks that we need to do. Also, you guys met Michael Gardner, so he's the new NRA coordinator, so he'll be taking on Alex's position. We've done several facilities projects. You guys, I'm sure you've heard a lot about the Cannon Foundation grant that we received to renovate our metal finishing areas. So that's largely complete now, at least the construction portion of it is. We may add a few things in there, but you can see much nicer, much cleaner, much more modern bluing and parkerizing area there. I've got some photographs of that. You guys should all come over and take a look sometime. We've also cleaned up the old bluing area and ground the floors in there and gotten that place looking a little nicer as well. It's much less of an eyesore when we bring people through for tours and that sort of thing. We also had a little bit of money donated by Bear Creek Arsenal for that. So they donated $15,000, and then of course we had the $100,000 Cannon grant that's paid for the majority of those renovations. That's been a big project, and I'm glad to see that one actually in use by students now. So we built a second firing range to sort of alleviate some of the traffic jams that would happen between law enforcement and our gunsmithing program. We had a lot of yes, overscheduling or, just people trying to be on the range at the same time. And this should alleviate that. Most of that was paid for by, or I guess all of that was paid for by a National Shooting Sports Foundation grant that had been received some years prior, all the way back when Dr. Kirk was still here. So we've got a lot of things that have come up we've had great opportunities for our students. So when Lee asked me to do the board presentation, he wanted me to highlight a couple of these that I think are really interesting. So for me, one of the most satisfying portions of my job is to be able to get students jobs. That's what we're here for. If we're not doing that, we're not really accomplishing much. So I'm really proud when we can find good opportunities. So we've had, I think Lee has probably mentioned a few of these things, and we've spoken to the board before. The Department of Energy has come here for their third year now to interview students for internships, which is essentially a month-long job interview. They take students down to their training facility in Arkansas. They stay down there for a month. They pay them while they're there, provide them housing, give them a bunch of training, and determine if they are good candidates for jobs. For them, it's important that they get good candidates because it takes about a year to get through all of the security clearances that they have to get. So if they get a bad employee, they've got a year invested in somebody and they have to start over. So anyway, we've had, of the 3 years, we had one of the students who went last year is going to work for the Department of Energy in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. He'll start there at the end of July. And we've got 2 students that are in Arkansas currently doing the internship now. So Benelli, which is a shotgun company, or primarily a shotgun company located in Maryland. You guys are duck hunters. You probably know that name well. Anyway, they called me and expressed some interest in starting an internship program and asked me if we'd ever done anything like that. So I sort of outlined the program with the Department of Energy, and they said, well, that sounds like a great plan. Let's do the same thing. So anyway, they were here today. They came last night. Lee and I had dinner with them last night. They came and toured the facilities today and then sort of talked about the way we could proceed for that. So we hope to be doing a very similar program for them. So in their warranty repair center at Benelli, they have 7 gunsmiths. 4 of them are from MCC. And they've had 2 others that have gone there for a while and left. And they also have one of our other graduates that's their compliance officer for ATF regulations. So we've got 5 former students working for them, and they want more. That's happy that that's the case. We've had a lot of other job opportunities this year. In particular, I've had maybe more calls than I have in a long time. The firearms industry is doing pretty well, not maybe as much as it was 2 years ago. In 2020, everything was selling and everybody in the industry was busy. That slowed a little bit, but it's still going pretty well. So a couple of notable ones. We have a couple students that work for the FBI in Huntsville, Alabama. They have a training facility there for their hostage rescue teams. And anyway, we have 2 students that currently work there. They're looking for 2 more possibly after September. Similar to the Department of Energy, they have to get security clearances and those sorts of things. So those are, they prefer former military guys because they've already had clearances in a lot of cases. So that works out well for them. And we've got a lot of openings that are remaining unfilled. I've got a lot of people calling for students, and I just have fewer students that are willing to move to where the jobs are. It's been a little bit frustrating for me on that front because I would love to fill all those jobs with their students. I just can't get them to go where they need to go to take the jobs. So some other noteworthy things to mention. We had I'm sure you've heard about this, we had a donation of purchase/donation of 363 rifles from Beretta USA. They're Tinker bolt-action rifles. We had to pay for a portion of them. They donated the remainder, so we ended up with all these rifles with not a lot of money in them. And we can sell those to students very inexpensively, and it really helps them out. Of course, gunsmithing is an expensive program. I don't have a good way to circumvent that, unless we can get a sponsor that will come and pay for everybody's education, but we haven't managed to work that out just yet. But we have had a lot of wonderful industry partnerships with a lot of companies that have really helped us out a lot. Beretta USA being a good one. But anyway, a year and a half ago, we were having a very difficult time sourcing bolt-action rifles for our students to do projects on. All of our normal channels they just simply didn't have the inventory to sell us. the supply chain issues being what they were and the sales numbers being what they were, they just didn't have anything. So I cold called Beretta USA. I managed to get a hold of their rifle product manager at the time. And by the end of the conversation, he'd let me know they had a couple pallets worth of rifles that couldn't be sold, that were set for destruction, would work perfectly for what we needed. How could they get them to us? That ended up being a really great deal. Also added several pieces of equipment over the past few years. You guys probably see some of our equipment expenditures as that stuff comes through. He always shakes his head when he sees what I'm asking for. They really back to the SHOT Show for the first time. We took about 30 some odd students to the SHOT Show in Las Vegas. That was the first time for a couple of years. Of course, we had the COVID years that we didn't go. And that was a wildly successful show. I felt like we did a really good job. We spoke to a lot of people in the industry. We had good reception from a lot of people. It really felt like everything had been before COVID. I was really worried that a lot of our contacts at companies that they hadn't heard from us for a couple of years, we might lose those contacts. And luckily that didn't happen. We resumed all of our normal field trips. We took a group of students to in Columbia, South Carolina to see that manufacturing facility. We had a representative from Loophole Optics that came here actually with some of the fellows from the Department of Energy. And they ended up doing a 7-hour class on optics for the students. You know, they asked if they could speak to the students about optics. Well, sure. I thought it was going to be a 30-minute presentation. It turned into an all-day affair, but it was really a great learning opportunity. I learned a lot from it myself. We've taken students I've got the Lentz range up there. That's a range down in near Ellerby that we've tried to get the students involved in shooting of all sorts so they can learn more about firearms in that manner. We had our Sporting Clays tournament each of those years. That's been a successful fundraiser, and it's been a great way for students to learn about shotgun shooting. We've appeared on Carolina All Out TV show 3 times now. So we've had 3 episodes that we've done for that. The most recent one, we did a 1022 project that Alex and Lynn and I collaborated on. And on YouTube, it's got about 60,000 views now. So we're getting a little bit of notoriety out of that, and that helps a lot. The more people that see us, the better off we are. We've also been able to partner a little bit with Samarkand, the Law Enforcement Training Center over in Moore County. So we've started bringing some of their law enforcement people over to our campus to do some armorers courses. That's really a great area for growth for us. I think we're leaving a lot on the table. And I think expanding on those armorers courses for law enforcement is a great area that we can really do some more things. I think that's an excellent opportunity for us. So anyway, anybody have any questions for me? Anything that I can answer about the program or about what we're doing?
Tell us a little bit about your students. Who's likely to come to this?
Well, I always say that we have students from 18 to 80. We have the demographic of our students is shifting a little bit, shifting toward the younger side. The traditional gunsmithing student used to be probably average age of about 30. I can say that's shifting down probably to the mid-20s now. We're getting a lot more students that are straight out of high school. They're coming to school here. And we're getting fewer, I guess probably when I started here in 2011, the 2008 housing crisis and the recession after that had really led a lot of people to seek new employment. So probably at that point, 40% of our students were retraining from other careers. That's not really the case right now. And we're also getting slightly fewer former military than we've normally had. We normally hover 50% or so former military. We're probably a little bit below that now. So our current demographic is more young students and fewer of the older students.
What about the relationship male and female? You get a lot of female coming in?
Very few.
Very few.
Very few. We currently don't have any full-time female students. We've had a couple that are, I think we have one that has applied for this year. It's very few female students. I'd really like to correct that. But it just, unfortunately, we haven't had a lot of interest from female students. For our NRA classes, we have more. But for a curriculum program, it just hasn't been the case.
We used to have a waiting list for enrollment. Do we still have a waiting?
No, we currently don't. So when we expanded the program in 2017, we were trying to eliminate some of that waiting list. So we had sort of a confluence of events there. We expanded our capacity considerably. And we also had what people in the industry call the Trump slump. We work in an inverse relationship to the political climate. When we have a Republican in office, the firearms industry tanks. When we have a Democrat in office, the firearms industry goes through the roof because people are operating out of fear. So during those 3 years during the Trump years, 2017 to 2020 there, we had kind of a drop off in number of students being interested, and we had an increased capacity, so we were able to work through our wait list. The last 3 years or so, we've pretty much had a full boat, but we haven't had a lot of extras. And what Dr. Bledsoe has said from the beginning, we'd like to have one more student, have one more student on the list than we have room for. I mean, we've come pretty close to that. So I always felt like when we had the long wait list that we were losing a lot of good students because my theory was always that a really good, motivated, intelligent person, they're not going to wait 2 or 3 years for something. They're going to find something else to do. Whereas, the guy that's sitting on his mother's basement playing video games, he doesn't mind being on a wait list till way forever.
You mentioned you want to have one more student that you have room for. You have 67 currently enrolled or to be enrolled. What is your capacity?
Well, so for full-time students, if we had day and night classes, we would have room for 75. And then weekend classes, if we add that in, would be 15 additional weekend students that would be essentially half-time students. If we ever got to the point that we needed to hire another instructor, we could increase that up to 90. We have the space and time capacity for that. We just have never had the need to hire that extra instructor to increase by that extra section.
The second year is where we drop sections.
Yeah, we start off with 3 sections, 15, so 45 first-year students. And then so far, we've been able to, we drop that down to 30 or under 30 second-year students. We have enough attrition by the time they get to their second year that we combine those classes into 2.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
I don't think it's too difficult to put a marketing plan together for this study.
Okay, we'll move on the agenda to the approval of the board minutes for May. Do I hear a motion to approve the May?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any changes to the minutes? Hearing none, we're voting on the motion that the May 10, 2023 board minutes be approved. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll have our committee reports, and I'll call on Mrs. Henry for the Budget and Finance Committee.
The Budget and Finance Committee met earlier today, and I would like to recommend, the committee recommends, and I move that the April financial report be approved.
Thank you. Coming from committee, the motion requires no second. Is there any discussion on the motion? We are voting on the motion that the monthly financial report be approved. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Also, the committee at its meeting earlier today discussed and recommends that the in-kind contribution transfers be approved.
Could you put that in the form of a motion, please?
Okay. Budget and Finance Committee recommends, and I move that the in-kind contributions transfer be approved.
Thank you. Coming from committee, the motion requires no second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we're voting on the motion that the in-kind contribution transfers be approved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those, any opposed? Motion carries.
There being no further business, the meeting was adjourned.
Mr. Knowles, Building and Grounds Committee.
The Building and Ground Committee met earlier this afternoon. Dr. Bledsoe discussed the facilities and construction report. And we also had 2 action items that we needed to recommend to the chair. The Building and Grounds Committee recommends, and I move that the forestry road repairs be approved.
Thank you. Coming from committee, that motion requires no second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we're voting on the motion that the forestry road repairs be approved. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the motion carries.
We also talked about the campus-wide security, and the Buildings and Ground Committee recommends, and I move that the campus-wide security upgrades be approved.
Thank you. From committee, that requires no second. Is there any discussion on the motion? We are voting on the motion that the campus-wide security upgrades be approved. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We had no further new business, and no other business. We adjourned.
Thank you. Mr. Absher, Personnel Committee.
Personnel Committee met earlier this evening. Dr. Bledsoe introduced his blank travel process form, and the committee recommends and I move that the blank travel authorization be approved.
Thank you. Coming from committee, the motion requires no second. Is there any discussion on the motion? We're voting on the motion that the blanket travel authorization be approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Committee also heard Dr. Bledsoe introduce new faculty positions that was discussed. The committee recommends and I move that new faculty positions be approved.
Thank you. Coming from committee, the motion requires no second. Is there any discussion? We're voting on the motion that the new faculty positions be approved. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
There was no new business and the meeting was adjourned.
Surprise Curriculum and Student Services Committee.
Yes, Curriculum Student Service Committee met earlier and considered three issues. First of all, the Curriculum Student Service Committee recommends, and I move that we approve the fee chart update.
Excuse me. Coming from committee, the motion requires no second. Is there any discussion on the motion? We're voting on the motion that the 2023-24 fee chart update be approved. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Second thing we considered was the curriculum program termination. And the committee recommends, and I move that the curriculum program termination be approved.
Thank you. Coming from committee, that requires no second. Is there any discussion? We're voting on the motion that the curriculum program termination be approved. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And our third issue was the articulation agreement for the truck driving. Curriculum Student Service Committee recommends, and I move the truck driving articulation agreement be approved.
Thank you. Coming from committee, the motion requires no second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Voting on the motion that the truck driving articulation agreement be approved. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
Being no further business, the committee adjourned.
Thank you. Dr. Dunlap, Legislative and Public Relations Committee.
The Legislative and Public Relations Committee met earlier today. We evaluated a public relations and marketing report from Kelly Morgan, and we heard a legislative update from Dr. Bledsoe. There were no action items and no new business, and we adjourned.
Thank you. Mr. Harris, Institutional Status Committee.
Institutional Status Committee met earlier this evening. We reviewed first readings of policy 1.3 weapons on campus and policy 5.3.2 possession of weapons. And Dr. Bledsoe updated us on the SACs. And the meeting was adjourned.
Thank you. There will be no SGA report. We're kind of on the hiatus for that, and we'll look forward to hearing that again in the fall. And so I'll call on Dr. Bledsoe for the president's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Lopez. First of all, draw your attention to item 15.1. Lights in there. Of course, we had a number of graduations, pinning ceremonies, always an exciting time of the year. Also had a couple of external meetings, a few retirement parties, and I think also a wayfinding meeting for that month. So busy certainly in May, and we continue now in June trying to prepare for the fall. So certainly a busy time of year. The next item that I wanted to discuss with the board is item 15.2. Annually, we share with the board our business continuity plan. We don't put this online because, of course, it's a private plan for what we would do in case of a disaster. But should anyone want to review a copy, there is one at the end of the table. It's that right in front of Dr. Jones, that nice big thick document. But what the business continuity plan does, it outlines a couple of different types of threats. So maybe fire, maybe flood, loss in human attack, et cetera. And then based upon that threat, what services might go down, how likely they are to go down, and what do we do if they go down. So for example, if we have a fire in a building, the call process may be to me, to Jeanette, then to Marcus Earl. And so we outline that, and we keep those in various places on campus, also online in campus. So that should a disaster occur, we can deal with that quickly. Probably the closest we've ever had to kind of using that plan was, some of you remember a few years ago, we had a cyber attack. And so we pulled out the plan when we did that. A copy available if you'd like to see it. And of course, I'm always happy to make those available to the trustees. Other items just to share. Quick note for the NCA CCT conference. I did hear from a number of you who wanted to attend. So at the moment, I have Mrs. Boltice, Dr. Bennett, Mrs. Eggleston, Tim McCauley, and Neil. I think you were joining us as well. So those are the individuals I have. If anyone else would like to join, please let me know, and we'll make sure and get you registered. We could get you registered right up to the time of the conference if you want to do it. It's just I'm trying to get everybody in the same hotel if I can.
One note, just a reminder that newly appointed trustees are required to take courses that are presented at the CSCCT conference.
You mean, even though we just took them when we were in Raleigh, we got to take them.
And then just two other items of note. Lee shared with me during the break that he is very excited that we have received approval for a change we made in our information technology program and are now able to teach the gaming and simulation course that he has discussed previously. So I expect that will be one of our highest enrolled courses in the near future. We're very excited. And I believe we mentioned this at the May meeting, but just so everyone knows, our new SGA president is Judith Mendoza Hernandez. So Ms. Mendoza Hernandez will join us. If you want to write it down. She will join us, we hope, in August, certainly by September, she'll join us. And that's my report.
Tell us the wayfinding meeting. Wayfinding going.
Wayfinding is slow and methodical, but it is moving forward. So at the moment, we're focusing on the exterior signage. We have seen the sample, and under Corey's leadership, we have identified the major buildings and the locations we want for the signage. So Corey, how close would we be going out for an RFP?
She was emailed me this week, so I'd say within the next couple of weeks.
Within a couple of weeks, we'll go out for RFP on the exterior signage. And then we've decided to go in a slightly different way for the interior signage. We're getting some good information, but we may want to look at individual companies to do our internal signage. So we're talking about that. And so as soon as we get that RFP out and are waiting for people to bid, we'll be working on the interior signage.
Is the funding available for that?
Yes, I believe we got the funding available. But really, I have been waiting. I want to use state funds as opposed to county funds for that. And I've been waiting for us to close out this Blair Hall project so that we have those funds available. And so as we're closing it out, we think the funding will be fine for that.
Thank you.
Okay, your calendar of events, I of course want to highlight the August 5th, 2023, 8 a.m. board retreat.
They have got 8 a.m. Please.
8 a.m. 8 to 8:30 is breakfast, so the meetings will actually start at 8:30. I really want to encourage you to come. One focus that we're looking at for the board retreat is looking at the board itself, looking at our bylaws, our committees, our meeting structure, and a further examination of the 2023 board self-evaluation. We'll look at some of the things that came up in that evaluation. So this is going to be your chance to make recommendations on how the board can best serve the college and the trustees. So I really would encourage you to attend that if you possibly can.
What is the date on that?
August 5th.
August 5th, 2023.
That'd be considered our meeting for that month.
That will also be the August board meeting, yes. There will be no meeting in July. A little bit of a break here.
Be retrained.
Oh, boy. Okay, I did want to report on one thing that was on my calendar in May, and that was I attended the Rural Center summer road trip meeting that was May 15th here at NCC. And interesting, I have to say, I think the highlight for me was just the breakout groups, and I was in a group, almost all the people were from Montgomery County. There were a few from other counties, but mostly from our county, and I sat with people that I did not know, 2 from the health department, 2 from Mount Gilead, Partnership for Children. So it was a mixed group where we went through some questions that they had for us. And what really came out of it was the usual things, I do have to say, you know, internet accessibility. This is a little chart. I don't know if you can see it, but it's color coded for who has the internet. And there's just 2 little pale counties here. This is just our, what do they call it? Prosperity region. Prosperity zone. There's just 2 little white ones, light ones, and those are the ones that have the least connectivity. Well, it's Montgomery and Anson. So, and everybody recognizes this as a problem, but no solution was suggested. So, but very aware of that. I do have to say there were lots of compliments for what we've done with education in Montgomery County with the early college and the central high school and the connection and the cooperation with all the educational agencies and the county commissioners. So there was a lot of positive feedback about that. They did talk about a new initiative that they had called the Rural Counts Advocacy Program. And we're in the Sand Hills Regional Property Zone, and in Layden, what that one is.
I didn't know.
Cumberland, I did, Polk and Montgomery, and there's one other one that, oh well. Oh yeah, more. Robeson, Sampson. Anyway, a bunch of counties. And things that they want to do is establish regional priorities, which was part of what this meeting was all about. Connect with community leaders, try to get people together who are leaders in the community, and facilitate the growth of new and emerging regional leaders and advocates. In other words, we want to get more younger people involved in regional issues. And we're all seeing that. I think everybody's seeing that as far as trying to get some younger people like on a board of trustees or in some of the other areas. So they're kind of trying to get that going. But anyway, it was interesting. A lot of suggestions, no solution, you know. So hopefully they're taking that information, working on it. They do a lot though. In addition to these meetings, they also have some capital programs where there's money for some start people and research. So it was interesting. I was glad I was there. It's educational for me. Okay, now I hear some people. I have copies of the evaluation. I don't know if any of you if any of you have, any comments, on it before we start, I thought we would just. Did everybody get one? Okay, I'm just gonna go through this kind of quickly, and some of the highlights we're gonna go through at the retreat. The first four, they're really were fine, and there were no comments. I'm gonna skip to question 5. And I do know, 2 people feel that the way that we handle our committee and board meetings, creates redundancy, and so, we're taking those comments, and we're gonna look at those. This is one of the things I want to talk about at the retreat. If we want to change our committee structure, if we want to change the way that we handle committee meetings, we'll be looking at some options there. So you will be addressing that. Question 6, really, I have no comments about that. Question 7, I really appreciated the positive remarks on that question. Up today on what was policy changes. I'm going to skip question 8, question 9, and go to question 10. And I am always upset about or concerned about, let's say that, is when some of the answers not applicable. And I wonder, to me, that means that we don't have that relationship going on with community leaders. And how can we be more involved? Should we go to the town meetings, the county meeting? I know Dr. Bledsoe goes to town meetings, but maybe we should try as board members to go to our meeting in our town. So we'd be there.
I think that's a nice topic, not long, but a topic on the best way for us to do it, perhaps in our retreat.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying that these are things that we will address at the retreat.
It looks, a lot of that may be the other part of that, unable to evaluate.
Right,
Not that it's not applicable,
we're not able to evaluate, but,
which is a little different.
yeah, well, I think we should all be able to
Oh, I
evaluate.
agree. But if someone's not been involved, and
Right.
doesn't know if anybody's been involved,
Right.
they could evaluate.
Right. Okay, we are gonna look at the strategic plan. Yep, 12, 13, 14. This is something that we will look at the retreat also. Then we're gonna go to number 19, because everything else was satisfactory. Number 19, another thing that irritates me, and I'm sorry, but you're just hearing this, being honest about it, is if you say does not meet, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that way? I expect a comment when somebody comments that. But anyway, I'll talk about that more at the retreat too, but I
And
think,
2 people felt that way, but
Yeah.
they didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Well, how do you improve that?
right. And this again is something for the retreat, but we need to, educate about the educational programs a little bit. We do this, in the orientation, but maybe it needs to be done other times. And I think with the reintroduction of the board presentations, it's helped. So you heard a presentation on gunsmithing, and every month you will hear something about one of our programs. So, but I also thought maybe at the retreat, we could go over the fall course offerings. We'll be coming out with a,
How many portions do we have?
right,
It's like 100, I don't know, less. And so it take that many months to go over it
right,
by having a different program every
right,
month.
right.
So the other way would be a good way to start.
So I'm going to question 21. The board understands the budget document, and Jeanette, every board meeting goes over a little section of it. We're always free to send her questions. I sent her a question today that she answered, and another question that she will talk about next month. So anytime that you don't understand anything, please ask questions in the board meeting. No one don't feel that your question is not appreciated, because it is, because somebody else may be thinking the same thing.
That questions can be asked from anyone,
Yeah.
not just the
Oh,
committee
yeah,
members.
anybody. Yes, anyone can ask, yes. Okay, gonna skip question 22. I'm gonna address 23, again, it's, somebody felt we weren't meeting expectations, but I'll talk about this, I have some notes on this that we'll talk again. You may want to keep your copy, although there's a bunch of copies here that we can take to the. Question 24. I have some thoughts on that I'll share then. I thought maybe, I know that we report on the economic impact regularly, but maybe that could go on that little summary that we give you all. That gives you a little idea of the economic impact that we have for the community. So, but, okay, now we're gonna skip a bunch and go to 29, because all of the other ones are perfectly fine. And
Like, can I just interrupt 1 minute?
Yeah.
13 people responded. Is that all of our board members?
yes,
Great.
and our SGA person.
Perfect.
So,
That
yeah.
is wonderful.
Yes, we have full response. Okay, going. Thank you all for that. That's
After
okay.
after the threat that you initiated, we didn't have any choice.
Caused him to stutter. He's trying to get it out.
What was the threat?
To do it.
Oh,
Mercy, yes. Like Jim stayed with us a week. We just turned it in.
I wouldn't have encouraged you so fully then.
It was either out of respect or fear.
Definition of encourage may be different from the others.
I'll have to watch.
Definitely respect.
Okay, 29, question 29. I'm a little confused by this one, that somebody felt we didn't meet expectations, but you know what? That on our 50th anniversary in 2017, we had lots of good history. I'm thinking maybe we could produce some sort of document on the history of the college. That would be really
That
cool.
would be cool.
But
Actually, there were
yeah, huge ones.
something.
Oh, yeah, there was a whole thing that the Montgomery Herald did. Whole
Yeah.
book, yeah. But maybe something smaller with some fun pictures and stuff. Okay, question 30. Again, I would like to see us involved.
Yeah.
In the community, and I say that for myself also. Okay. 31. You just always are urged to attend the foundation. The board supports the State College Trustee Association. I don't even know if I like that question.
What's that mean?
I need to go to the meetings, that's all I can say.
Oh, it should be
Oh,
there.
no, the State College Trustee
Yeah.
Association, yeah. And we do that,
We
so,
do.
yeah.
But you could read that, say, we support the state colleges at their, you know,
yeah, no, it means the NCAC.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. See, okay, 33, 34, and 35. And then we're into the major accomplishments. And some things that I have forgotten myself. You can read those for yourself. But we can pat ourselves on the back. One of the things that I had forgotten was working to secure funding to supplement the president's salary. And I'm very happy that we were able to do that, because we want to keep our president. And of course, just the relationship with Montgomery County Schools. Very unique. And then things that we have concerns about. You can't see this, but I have notes all over the place. So I think we'll save this for the retreat. I just have to make one remark. let's see. Number 8, emphasis on course transferability rather than emphasis on saleable skills. Both are important, I agree. But if you would talk to our first board chair, Mr. Jesse Capel, every time he would talk about the college, he tells me that we've gone too far the other way, that we've lost the technical focus that we started with. So
What that
he's,
says.
huh?
That's what that says.
No, yeah, right. He'd say the same thing, yeah. No,
Yes.
oh, I thought they wanted an emphasis on course.
No.
You wrote
I
that?
that, yes.
See, now I took it the wrong way.
No.
I thought you
Dr.
wanted
Fay,
an emphasis.
The concern is that the emphasis is on transfer
Oh, okay.
rather than,
See, I took it the opposite way. Okay. Well, I think we're doing pretty good on
we're doing
both.
okay, but we can shift a little bit.
It's a hard one.
I think we have to shift a little bit.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, I took that the wrong way. Okay, there are a number of things to look at on this page, and we'll do that after the read. Okay.
Remind us of the date of the retreat.
Saturday the 5th.
October
August.
5th. It's on the calendar
August 5th.
that you have too. August 5th.
August 5th, yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday, August 5th, yeah.
Okay, now. I have been reappointed. I mean, I will be reappointed. I am approved to be reappointed. And Mrs. Hensley has been approved to be reappointed, and we're waiting on the governor as we usually do.
The governor has contacted me 2 weeks ago and said, "I'm going to reappoint you." I think it'll happen as long as the legislation allows it.
Maybe we need to get Harris to intervene. Call the governor's office. You got.
Does he know people?
He does.
People that those people.
Yeah, that's it.
You heard about the storage shed, that we did for the, Habitat House. I want to read this letter, partly because, Steve Wilkinson is my pastor, and I told him I would read the letter to the board. It's a letter of appreciation, and it says, as we near completion of our Habitat home here in Troy, I want to recognize Edwin Garner and his CE students for their excellent work building the 8x8 shed we're providing for our homeowner. They were able to take the diagrams and plans I provided as suggestions, meaning they build something above and beyond the quality required. And their ownership of this component of the build freed our core volunteers to focus on the house itself. We'll be moving it to the home site on Ophir Avenue tomorrow morning. I don't think it got done that. And it's nice to know that their signatures are written on the rafters. A reminder that they've made a personal investment in a family's future. Mr. Garner gave me the opportunity to put their work in this perspective early on as I met the student team. Realize that it's not just about a house or shed, but about a home. Habitat for Humanity works to provide affordable housing and homeownership for those in our program. But our hope is that volunteers are encouraged as they're engaged in doing something helpful for a neighbor. When organizations and individuals in our committee catch a vision for this and enjoy working together in sacrificial service, we're building much more than a house. As we've taken this first step here in Montgomery County, it was important to have MCC support and participation. Mr. Garner and his students were a pleasure to work with and represent the college well. Thanks to them and thank you for making this possible. The letter was addressed to me and to the board. It was also sent to Dr. Bledsoe and Tracy Wyrick. The Gardner confirmed that this was a great teaching tool, and since there's a hands-on process that mirrors the construction of the house, I hope we're working together again soon. Many thanks. Steve Wilkinson, Construction Coordinator. I know he was very excited about being able to have that done and work with the college. Okay, I have just one other.
On that note, is it possible that if we have another Habitat home in Montgomery County, that the electrical students could wire the home, or would that not be legal? within code.
There are portions that they could do.
Okay,
And of course, it depends on what they're doing in the class at the time.
sure,
You definitely would have to have a licensed electrician to certify everything, but
right,
you know,
but. if-
things like
if they-
pulling wire.
Sure.
things that, yeah.
Okay,
There was some brick to be laid on the foundation, and we had thought that possibly, you know, our masonry program could work on that. That didn't work out for this time, but there's definitely other possibilities of things that they can do.
that's great.
This will be another great pickup for the Montgomery Herald.
Yep. I have one other business item, and it's a special presentation. It's been a while since I awarded the Bubbly Award, and there's some new people here who probably aren't aware of what the Bubbly Award is. Sometimes somebody does something that's so extraordinary and excellent that you want to pop open a bottle of champagne. Unfortunately, we cannot do that on campus. However, we do have this called the Bubbly Award, and it's a little champagne bottle of champagne flavored Jelly Belly. And tonight I'm very pleased to present the Bubbly Award to Corey Irvin for excellence in her position as the Special Projects Coordinator. And you will not believe all the special projects she's been involved with. We're very thankful that she's here. She lends a hand wherever her expertise is needed. And of course, she's held the two positions that we have new people in. And so, especially with Lauren out now, she has really filled in the gaps so many times. So I'm very pleased to present you with the Bubbly Award on June 14th, 2023.
While this is a very special occasion, it doesn't always require a special occasion to pop a bottle. And today is National Bourbon Day.
I will celebrate that when I get home.
Jelly Bellies are always good.
Congratulations.
Is there any other business for board this evening? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Any opposed? No, the meeting stands adjourned. Okay, if anybody wants to hand these back in. We'll bring it to
What was the entertainment this? That's great.